Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says whenever there is any difficulty, we must always remember that we are here exclusively to accomplish the Divine's will. With my love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Divine Mother taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, question and answers of 1954, date 27th Jan 1954, page 6. Question, sweet mother, how can one know whether the psychic being is in the front or not? For this, our Divine Mother says, who? Oneself? It is not felt? You don't feel it? I'm not speaking of a small child, for it has no means of control and observation as it lacks the capacity of observation. But then, when one is no longer a baby, doesn't one feel it? It doesn't make any difference. So the child nods in assent. There is not one of you who will dare to tell me that it makes no difference when the psychic is there, when one feels better within oneself, when one is full of light, hope, goodwill, generosity, compassion for the world, and sees life as a field of action, progress, realization. Doesn't it make a difference from the days when one is bored, grumbling, when everything seems ugly, unpleasant, wicked, when one loves nobody, wants to break everything, gets angry, feels ill at ease, without strength, without energy, without any joy? That makes a difference, doesn't it? Says our Divine Mother. Question, sweet mother, it may make a difference, but one doesn't understand that the psychic being is in something else. For this, our Divine Mother says, naturally, if nobody has ever taught you what the psychic or the vital is, you cannot have any notion of the thing. You may say, today I feel good, yesterday I did not. Till I was 24, I knew nothing about these things, yet I distinguish very well these moments. I did not use these words because no one had taught me. I have never read anything, but I felt clearly the difference of the different moments and in what state of consciousness. But you who are here, after all that you've heard and all that you've read and all that I have taught you, you should be conversant with all the moments within you and be able to fix a little label. This is this, that is this other. Do you know the days you are in good health and the days when you are ill physically? Do you know that? The child says, yes, sweet mother. It changes from day to day. For this, our Divine Mother says, that's true. It changes all the time. Even during the same day when you've just got up, you're just waking up, beginning your day. Do you begin your day always in the same way? The child says, no. Says our Divine Mother, everything seems to you harmonious. And days when you are as with the grinding wheels, things grate within you, they don't turn around. Well, it is something like that. If you observe it physically for your body, afterwards you can observe it for your sensations, your feelings, if the head is clear or smoky. For this, the child says, in what part of the being does the power of observation develop? For this, our Divine Mother says, the power of observation develops in all parts of the being. You may have a mental power, a vital, or a physical power. When you observe your ideas, for instance, the train of ideas, the logic of the ideas, it is not altogether the same power As when you look at a friend doing athletics, you see whether he's making his movements correctly or not. That is the capacity of attention in both the cases, but it works in a different field. For the capacity of observation must not be confused with the capacity of discernment. The child says, "Is there a power of observation in the psychic?" Our Divine Mother says, "There is the capacity for the direct vision of things. It's like a mirror in which all things are reflected, whatever they may be. But that is just what most children, when not deformed, have clearly a great sensibility, for example, to the atmosphere of those who approach them. For those children who, without any reason, rush towards one person, run away in horror from other, for both of them are equally good, make no difference. But in one instance, the child is immediately attracted to a person and try very hard, it doesn't get attracted, it starts crying and run away. But it will have nothing to do with that person. All this is a translation, a consciousness of ignorance of a psychic phenomenon, the vision of the psychic quality of that person.
Lord, we aspire to be thy valiant warriors, so that thy glory may manifest upon the earth. Give us the strength to reject falsehood and emerge in thy truth, pure and worthy of thy victory. Seigneur, nous aspirons à être des vaillants guerriers, afin que ta gloire soit manifestée sur la terre. Donne-nous la force de rejeter le mensonge et de surgir dans ta vérité, pure et digne de ta victoire.
Question, sweet mother. Once the being has entered into contact with the psychic, why does the psychic again hide itself? For this, our Divine Mother says, it is not the psychic that hides itself. It is the being which returns to its ordinary consciousness. It is difficult for it to remain at the highest. One slides down, falls back. Only the second time the discovery is easier, and each time the road is easier until one no longer falls back, says our Divine Mother.
पश्यन्ति धीरास्तेषां शान्तिः शाश्वती नितरेषाम्।
नमस्तेऽस्तु महामाये श्रीपीठे सुरपूजिते शङ्खचक्रगदाहस्ते महालक्ष्मीर्नमस्तुते नमस्ते गरुडारूढे कोलासुरभयङ्करे सर्वपापहरे देवी महालक्ष्मीर्नमस्तुते स्थूलसूक्ष्ममहारौद्रे महाशक्ते महोदये महापापहरे देवी महालक्ष्मीर्नमस्तुते पद्मासनस्थिते देवी परब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी परमेशी जगन्माता महालक्ष्मीर्नमस्तुते सर्वदुःखहरे देवी महालक्ष्मीर्नमस्तुते जगत्स्थिते जगन्माता महामेरा
Question, sweet mother, how can depression be controlled? For this, our Divine Mother says there's a very simple way. Depression occurs generally in the vital, and one is overpowered by depression only when one keeps the consciousness in the vital, when one remains there. The only thing to do is to get out of the vital and enter a deeper consciousness. Even the higher mind, the luminous higher mind, the most lofty thoughts have the power to drive away depression. Even when one reaches just the highest domain of thought, usually the depression disappears. But in any case, if one seeks shelter in the psychic, if one seeks shelter in the psychic, then there is no longer any room for depression. Our Divine Mother says depression comes from two causes, either from a want of vital satisfaction or from a considerable nervous fatigue in the body. Depression arising from the physical fatigue is set right fairly easily. One has but to take rest. One goes to bed, sleeps until one feels well again, or else one rests, dreams, lies down. The want of the vital satisfaction is pretty easily produced, and usually one must face it with one's reason. One must ferret out the cause of the depression, what has brought about the lack of satisfaction in the vital. Then one looks at it straight in the face, asks oneself whether that indeed has anything to do with one's inner aspiration, or whether it is simply quite an ordinary moment. Our Divine Mother says generally one discovers that it has nothing to do with the inner aspiration, and one can quite easily overcome it and resume one's normal movement. If that does not suffice, then one must go deeper and deeper until one touches the psychic reality. Then one has only to put this psychic reality in contact with the moment of depression, and instantaneously it will vanish into thin air. As for the fighting in the vital domain itself, some people are good fighters, love to struggle with their vital, but to tell you the truth, that is the most difficult thing. For this, the child says, sweet mother, once the psychic has come to front, can it withdraw again? For this, our Divine Mother says, yes. Generally, one has a series of experiences of identification, very intense at first, which later gradually diminish. Then one day, you find that they have disappeared. Still, you must not be disturbed, for it is quite a common phenomenon. But next time, the second time, the contact is much more easily obtained. And then comes a moment which is not far off, when, as soon as one concentrates and aspires, one gets a contact. One may not have the power of keeping it all the time, but can get it at will. Our Divine Mother says, then, from that moment, things become very easy. When one feels a difficulty or there is a problem to be solved, when one wants to make progress, or there is just a depression to conquer, or an obstacle to be overcome, or else simply for the joy of identification, for it is an experience that gives a very concrete joy. At the moment of identification, one truly feels a very great joy. Then, at that moment, whatever one may pause, concentrate for a while, and aspire, quite naturally the contact is established, and all the problems which were to be solved are solved. Simply to concentrate, to sit down and concentrate, to aspire in this way, and the contact is made, so as to say, instantaneously. Our Divine Mother says, There comes a time, as I said, when this does not leave you, that is, it is in the depths of the consciousness and supports all that you do, you never lose the contact. Then many things disappear. For instance, depression is one of these things, discontentment, revolt, fatigue, depression, all these difficulties. Our Divine Mother says if one makes it a habit to step back, as we say, in one's consciousness and see on the screen of one's psychic consciousness, see all the circumstances, all the events, all the ideas, all the knowledge, everything, all that comes at one moment. One sees that and has altogether sure guide for everything that one may do. But for this, perforce takes a very long time to come, says our Divine Mother. Question, sweet mother, what is the difference between a calm and a grateful submission? For this, our Divine Mother says, when you receive an order, you may carry it out without any resignation because you have resolved to submit. So you carry out this order without any joy or pleasure, just very drilly and superficially, and you tell yourself, I was told to do this and I'm doing it. This means you just do not try to understand and make an effort to adhere willingly to what is asked. This is resigned submission. You accept your fate. If you do not complain, it is because you have determined not to complain. It is because of this determination. Otherwise, you would complain. The other instance is of understanding why an order was given, of grasping its inner value, wanting to express what has been asked with all one's strength, with the knowledge and joy that it is something perforce that's bound to bring the divine closer and give you full satisfaction. Then you are happy, you are satisfied, and you collaborate. That makes quite a considerable difference, says our Divine Mother. For this, the child says, in a calm submission, doesn't one feel happy? Our Divine Mother says, usually one is very proud of oneself. One becomes vain, tells oneself that one is doing something remarkable. One doesn't question, try not to understand. One obeys and besides is resigned. One doesn't even ask if it is good or bad. One is puffed off with pride. There are many people of this kind. For this, the child says, so it is not a true submission, is it? For this, our Divine Mother says, at least here one has the satisfaction of understanding why he does things. One does them with joy and feels strengthened throughout the very fact of doing them, while in the first instance, one bends the head lower and feels as though one were a poor victim of some despotic authority crushing one with its omnipotence, says our Divine Mother.